All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is October 21st, 2019, and the title of tonight's webinar is When Should I Scalp and When Do I Hold? And as everyone knows who's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk, therefore there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should ever be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Can you believe it? I thought it was 2020. Wow. I guess I've been, listening to the news pundits and all that about 2020. All right, it's not 2020, it's 2019, Gary. Wake up. All right, let me go ahead and show a screen here. And what I'm going to do first off, let's diagnose this chart. Now, you know that you can actually diagnose this particular chart, right? Because we've done this a lot of times. Okay, Lightning 3 is extremely important to your trading. I don't think I can emphasize it enough that when they take at least these 15 bars or so to make a swing, that's a pretty important swing. Same thing here, pretty important swing. Now you need to know where the prices are, obviously, so you need to draw Lightning 1 or 2 on your chart also. So let's draw that. We'll draw it from, let's see if we can draw it from there. And we'll draw this one from here. All right. All right, and then what you want to do is you want to draw on your charts, okay, with your lines. And what I'd recommend doing is get in the habit of, a couple of contracts and then just scalp in and out. Because you're going to find out that if you do that, that's one thing that I've really, gotten to the point of, just almost looking at this like it's should be a daily thing. Because you'd be amazed, a couple of scalps, and just like Linda did today, to give an example, 470 for the day, and she shut it down. Okay. Now I know there's some of you that probably got down a little bit today, because it's obvious. I mean, it was a pretty choppy sideways day, at least for a while. And the problem is at the open, if they've been going up all night, to give an example, or if they've been going down all night, then be very, very careful at the opens because they will go sideways for a while. Okay. And it's easy, in hindsight to go, oh, look here, we could have just waited. Well, if a person didn't wait, then, they didn't, they got beat up. Okay. But keep in mind that scalping can make you some money. Just like, for instance, when, Charles went short on that ES this morning, when I called the Phantom, when it came down to the Phantom, and mentioned that, people ought to be protecting their coin because we just hit a Phantom, and sure enough, the Phantom actually held and it went up. But that doesn't mean that you can't take a scalp, okay? For instance, if you look at this chart right here, you can pretty much see that it's a downtrend, right? But what if it breaks this resistance right here and decides to go up? Or if this one here, let's say that we box it in, so to speak, we know where it's at right now. Okay, so we'll draw that again. For some reason that messed up. All right, and I'm going to change the color of these again. I don't know why I had some violet looking or indigo. We'll go ahead and do a ivory color. Same thing on this one here. All right. And what you want to get in the habit of is to understand that not every single trade is going to go your way, but it needs to go your way or it's done. Because if you're going to trade against trends or anything like that, you're going to have to realize that you got to, for instance, if this bipped above 92.70 and came back under 92.70, then more than likely you don't want to stick around with the trade. Okay? Because you can't really, for instance, let's say that you said, okay, I'll go 1492.70 if it breaks it, but I'll put my stop way down here at 1491.20. That's 15 ticks. So, you know, we can't really do that. If we're going to take little scalpy trades and stuff like that, we can't do this. If this was to break here and you decided to go long, or if it even broke this trend line that it's doing right now, to give an example, you know, like so, if you're going to scalp it, or like so, if you're going to scalp this one. Now, we can't see the prices, so I'm not exactly sure where these are going to be, but I think we'll be close. Okay? If you're going to scalp this break or this break here, then you want to put a really tight stop on it. Okay? Let's see, protect your trade, pull the trigger, and that's all. Yeah, exactly on that too. Yeah, you got to protect the trade. That's the key to it, because what'll eat your lunch is chipping away at your bottom line. Okay? Because, you know, for instance, if you did a couple of contracts and got on the wrong sides of trades, you know, you can be down $200 or $300 really easily. Quality in your recording, please close any unused internet connections. Is my quality of sound coming through okay? I got a little note popped up on GoToWebinar, but I think they're wrong. My internet speed's strong. It's all good. Okay, we'll keep going then. All right. So, you know, for instance, you want to just try these and see, you know, for instance, and we'll take, you know, quick coin if they do and if they don't. So, you know, we'll watch the bottom line. I wish I had a replay 1 and replay 2, but it'll go on the same P&L. So we'll just do it and see what it does. All right. So I'm going to do a ray on this one, a wedge, and then do it like this. And we're just going to go for like 2 contracts, 10 ticks, and we don't really care. We're gonna talk about scalping a little bit and see if we can make $200 a trade on 2 $10 instruments. Same way with this one here. Let's see. With what we're at right now, I think I'm going to draw it a little bit looser, simply because we don't know where the price is at. But if it broke this swing right here, maybe it'll at least check there. So I'll do this one like that, just to give it a shot. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to just see if this will actually, the prices are on the chart, by the way, they're just not showing, but this is kind of doing it a little on the funky side, so to speak, because we can't see the prices. But I want to do it just by those lines, just to see what happens. And we're going to do a touch plus 2 and a touch plus 2. All right, and we're going to also do it if it breaks this right here too, on a wedge to the downside. All right, so, and we'll do this one if it breaks this. Well, it looks like we're in one of them. All right, let's do this one if it breaks to the upside. Let me get this moved. Yeah, let's just try this right here and just see. I can't see the prices, so keep in mind, you know, this may work and it may not, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Okay, we got in that one. And it looks like you got $140 really quick. And you got, okay, now there's scalping right there that actually worked. See there? Now, could this have been one of those that you stuck with? Yes. That's what I want to talk about next, okay? But, you know, the one thing you got to be careful of too, though, is you don't want to go putting, you know, 3 or 4 contracts on and something go in your face. You know, you want to actually, you know, basically kind of stay in maybe one contract as it goes down, to give an example. Okay? Everybody see that? How that could actually work for you? You want to see if it'll work again? We'll just run a trend line on it and see if we can get some kind of a trade on it. All right, let's remove our lines. And we already got our 10 ticks on both of those, didn't we? I'm going to take a chance on this with all 4 of these being this color even. And let's see. We don't have anything else printing here yet, so This may have just gone up like crazy. I'm not sure exactly on it, but let's draw lightning 1 just in case so we can see it. Yeah, lightning 1's right there. Okay, well, we could draw this one again, couldn't we? See if we can get that or that. And actually, I'll draw a trend line on this instead. We'll do it like this and like that. Get this one out of the way so it's not confusing. So, whoop, it's already past it. Can't do that one now. Okay, let's see if this one will get us in somehow. It's still moving on the chart, by the way. See if we can get 10 ticks. Okay, that might cost us. We'll find out. Maybe not. Maybe so. It's going to stop us out. It got us our profit. Okay? Now, that was scalping blind. Now, if you got here, to give an example, and you were good for the morning, would that be good enough for you? Anybody? Would that be good enough for you that you could trade that? What do you think? Absolutely would, wouldn't it? Because the whole thing is that, let's just see if we can do it again. You want to? Let's see. You want to see what the charts actually look like? Let's see if we can scalp it on that too. Or you want to just do it like here, for instance. Let's see. We'll draw some lines on our chart. Let's get rid of this one first. Let's get rid of our predictors. We don't really need them. Hide predictors. There we go. All right, so let's see if we can get something here. What do y'all think? I'll draw a trend line. Well, for some reason, it actually got us in that one, so let's see if it works. Maybe, maybe not. That might get us. Got us our profit. Okay? That's actually 3 in a row, by the way. And that's without seeing any prices on the charts. Now, granted, that's counter trending. Don't get me wrong on that. That's definitely counter trending, because what I was doing was drawing lines on a chart just to see if we could break those and get us some coin. Okay? This one's actually short for some reason because we broke our trend line. Let's see if it gets 10 ticks. Now, the thing that concerns me about this one is it's hitting support. Let's see if it gets us. We'll give up the ghost if it doesn't. I'll go ahead and put my stop right there at that swing just in case. See if it, that one actually got us, didn't it? Okay. Now, if we'd have drawn a trend line here instead, that wouldn't have gotten us, would it? Everybody see that? Let's see. Just going to tell you to pull your stop. Yeah, that's the one thing that you really want to do, is you want to make sure that your stop is where you want it to be. Okay, let's try this again and see if we can get this. It looks like oil's heading down to me, so let's see if we can get it again. We had 660, didn't we? So we lost on one. That's one thing about trend lines. And keep in mind that if we had our other chart, we might not have taken that short to begin with on that one, because that may have been right off of mid-band. It could have very well been off of mid-band. Why is that a short? There it is. Okay. 10 ticks. Not yet. Keep in mind the prices are here, but our lines don't show up until afterwards. So the prices are there. Little lost without mid-band. So am I, actually. I'm actually a little lost without mid-band too. Let's go ahead and do it on the chart. There you go. Well, no, we got taken out, didn't we? All right, let's look at the actual chart. We lucked out on 3 of them, but let's see what the actual chart does. All righty, now we can do it. Let's draw us a trend line. Let's put our object trader on it first, though. Now keep in mind those first ones that I did was just simply so that we could actually get into, you know, a couple of trades. But if you were up $500, you could quit, right? And we did that totally blind. All right, let's see if we can get another trade. I'm going to do 10 and 10. And I wanted a touch. See if we can get something like that. Bingo. Now, by the way, now you could move this out of the way, don't you think? That's what we're talking about, a runner. Okay? Notice how you actually did quite well on your little trade there. See, and now you could do a runner on this. And keep in mind that if you draw your lines on your chart, let me slow this down just a little bit. Let's go ahead and right-click, Alt, left-click, pardon me. I don't like that color. Let me do this one. That one's not good enough, though. We'll have to do the red. You just have to bear with me on the color. I've got it red. But you can see it here. See the swing here and here? Just put your stop just a little bit above that swing right there. All right, and you could definitely ride your runner down. See, identified swing just barely, secondary identified swing. So you're still in the trade, right? Okay, that's the difference in, you know, taking a trade and then going for it for the gusto. Notice that I did 3 instead, though. So you have to be more careful with that, obviously. But if you can get some under your belt right off the bat, you can do pretty nicely on these. Don't put your stop way up here. You got to put it with the swings. Okay, does everybody know that we've got a tool in here for Object Trader that you can actually use as your trail stop? You can actually use the mid-band if you want to. That's your trend. You've also got your stealth, which if it closed above stealth, and you've got your lightning. Now, lightning is actually, you could set it on like a 2 strength or 1 strength or whatever you want. Hit your space bar, and you'll actually see where the lightning is. Well, it's way up here, so we're not going to use that one. We're going to use more of a 1 strength. And see, there's your 1 strength. Now, what I normally do if I use 1 strength is I back it off a little bit. Okay? And then it's looking for this stop right here. And if you engage it, it'll drop right down to it. Okay? That way, as this heads down, if it does head down, that is, then we can use our lightning to get out of the trade. Okay? Of course, you can use line 2. You can use mid-band. You know, I talk all the time about how I don't really particularly like mid-band. Notice, though, real quick, how beautiful these mid-band trades are. But get in the habit where you just scalp them. Because, see, you know, for instance, this one right here. Okay, let's say you were looking at this in real time. You said, okay, I've got a high, low, higher, high. You know, kind of a little stair-stepping. So this is like a little swing as it started out. So you draw a line there. Okay. And they go taking that line back out, and you draw your little trend line, for instance. Here's your trend line if you drew it, like we did just a few minutes ago. And you'd be in on the bar. But if it doesn't take out this top and keep on trucking, get it off the table. Because what happens a lot of times is they'll check as close as they can, remember? See how it checks that? And then that's all it does. And you can take it out on Lightning 1, and you can clearly see if it takes out this little swing, you could totally be out of that trade. See, and it did. Then you jump in again, and you get you a little bit more of a runner. Okay? How many of you ever tried that, like in replay, just after a market closes or something, just to draw boxes or trend lines or something on your chart? Because it'll sharpen your skills pretty good. Pretty good. All right, let's see. Now, if you were to look at this chart right here, all right, and you say, okay, I'm going to draw a trend line on this chart, like right across here, to give an example. See, that could be an easy out for you if that doesn't bounce off of that. And if it takes it out, could you actually take that trade for a scalp? And the answer is probably yes and no. So if you do it, just simply put wedge on the chart. Now you want to put wedge on the chart after you put object trader on. So I'm going to draw a little wedge there. And if it takes it out with a touch, we'll do a quick little trade. And this one we're still trailing, and see how our trail stop will drop here in a minute. If this drops, that is, it'll drop to here or here or here. You have it on region? I do, don't I? Thank you. All right. And now see, you're just writing some trades and everything. And like I say too, you know, how many of you are really, you know, just trying to make, you know, thousands of dollars every day? Or are most of us just retail traders that just like to make a little bit here and there and supplement our income? You know, like I was saying, you know, Linda has done hers where she just comes in and she just does those first trade or a couple of trades. Sometimes it's just one trade. You know, if she only gets like 200, we might try another trade. If she gets 3, we stop. And that's a pretty good rule of thumb to go by. And it does work. My son used that all the time. I mean, he was a very, very good trader. Still would be, I'm sure, except he's got 3 kids and, you know, needs that job at his bank and everything to get that, you know, job experience behind him and stuff like that. You don't want to be in your 40s, for instance, and have no job for the next 10 years and, you know, then all of a sudden try to get back in the workforce. Because, you know, my age, I wouldn't be able to get back in the workforce anyway. They'd kind of laugh at me and go, well, you're an old dude. We're not going to hire you. They won't tell you it's because of your age, but it is because of your age. All right, but see how this trails down like that? So, you know, just like we teach, you can use this little trade right here, this little stop, and it won't move. Okay? So this is a pretty good way to stay in a gusto type trade. And keep in mind that this also, see, broke a really nice Lightning 3 type of a trend line too. So, you know, that was pretty much in the bank type of a trade. You know, for instance, this one here is a little more risky because this is actually just more of a, you know, the Lightning 1 type of a swings. So it's a little riskier to do this trade right here, but you can always try it and see if it'll work too. You know, because trading is all about whatever the market's doing at the time. All right, see, we got a pretty nice little trade there. And we've got our stop in, so we're good to go, right? We're good to go. All right. Let's see if we can speed this up a little bit and get either stopped out or something. Now, by the way, if you see this has made a large move, and remember when I called this morning at 89? Anybody remember this? I called this at 89 this morning to be careful because it was going to bounce. Well, you could actually change your stop by just simply going to our little deal here and say, you know what, if it takes out line 2 as a close of a bar, maybe I don't want this trade anymore. Close of a bar and enable. And it'll, let's see, did I get that? Line 2, trail enabled. There we go. All right, trail enabled. And then see, you could actually simply be at line 2 now. Let's see, would it be a good thing to look at the chop after it went up to look short even on an uptrend? Well, see, that's the thing, Louis. you know, that, you know, with us using 4-range bars and as quick as swings are made and everything, you know, for instance, like this right here, I can already tell you that that's a lightning swing. It may become a lightning 3 swing. We don't know that yet. But if that broke that, could you actually short that? And the answer is probably yes, because it would be on the left side of the chart, breaking support. Right? Now keep in mind that's a green background, but we're talking about scalping tonight. So, you know, it's more about, you know, getting some decent trades and just simply scalping it. Everybody remember this trade this morning? Called this out at 89. I think it went down maybe a couple of ticks more, or maybe it bounced right off, but I don't remember exactly. But see where our stop's at, nice and tight, you know? And if it takes you out, it just takes you out. You've only got one left. Now you don't go and do this. Don't set that to reverse, because that will get you in trouble. Okay, don't turn that on reverse. Best to actually gauge a trade. You know, now could you actually though, if you saw this setting up like it is right now, could you very possibly get ready to trade it the opposite direction if it broke a trend line? What do you think? We could try it. You want to try it? Let's see if it'll work. I'll get rid of these. Lightning 1. We need to see our lightning pretty good. That's right through there. All right. Let's just kill this, because I called 90 on it to begin with this morning. 89. Could you actually see if you could actually get a 10-tick trade on this little puppy? You know, here, and if it does, it does, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. Or could you even go even a little bit more of a aggressive trader, and if it takes out your swing, see how your lightning is heading down? Well, if it takes out that swing, it's no longer heading down, right? So could you actually maybe even do sniper there, to give an example? And if it touched it +1, say, and just turn that on and just try to get 10 only, 2 contracts. And if it does, by the way, if it doesn't work and it goes back against you, you want to get out, because this is counter trend type trading right here. Okay. And if it doesn't work, you definitely want to get out of it. Now that trend line's a lot better choice than just that little break right there, because look at it. It's right at a predictor. So I probably wouldn't do this trade, because you need to actually be starting to stair step back up if they're going to. Let me show you how to look for that. Okay, right now, see, you can clearly see you're still heading down. But what if they started doing something like this, where you got a little thrust? I don't know, maybe, let's say it went up to predictor. I don't know if it did, but maybe it did. And then if it pulled back and you got a higher low, then you could box it in. But see, right now, you're not even taking out the one on the left. See there, like that. Oh, the sniper dot's still on, thank you. That would take that trade too, by the way. We'll turn it off. Well, we turned it off by turning those off. All right, now see this little higher low right here, but it's just barely taking this out right here. You want to see if we can scalp it with the predictor instead? If you're going to scalp predictor, you pretty much want to watch it just roll back through that support. See where my support line is right there? And that's if it does. I'm going to take a chance on it. Put a really tight stop though. Okay? The reason I did that's because it really came close to predictor and it decided to roll back through support. Now that's a risky trade, but that's also a scalp trade, because it's still a short background, right? All right, now if this decides to change trends, it's going to give us a lightning 3. Do you remember oil this morning when I actually said that we were looking for longs then, and somebody asked, why would you go long with the background and everything? Well, that's because you want that leg 3. Okay. Now this one may get us. Let's see if it does. Let's see if it does. If it does, it does. Stopped right there at that swing. If it gets me, it gets me. Now, by the way, if you got to $1,000, could you just hit the close button? Yes. Yeah, because the whole key to trading is, I mean, it's fun. It's nerve-wracking, but it's also fun. And you've got to realize that you don't want to make this into a profession that you spend 24 hours a day on. Because it'll really get into your psyche. I promise you it will. I used to do a lot more longer term trading, like just watching charts literally all day long. Well, you need to watch charts all day long, but you don't need to be trading all day long. If you got time, you do need to watch the charts. Yeah, that's the thing, Gene said, I like 1 or 2 and done. Yeah, because see, you notice that we had 500 and we went all the way down to 180, but I was not looking at prices either. So that was actually pretty good, wasn't it? Now looking at prices, we're hitting 100%. So far anyway. This one may get us. May not though. If it gets back below that, it might go ahead and at least tag that bottom. There we got our short on gold. Put a nice tight stop. I won't even leave it on exit on close. We'll just leave it, period. See how this works out. Let's see, you did one this afternoon, made 1180 on one trade with a tight stop. See, that's the thing, that if a person gets to where they have really tight stops, like, is that stop tight? Well, that's 5 ticks, so it's going to cost me a $100 bill. But that's not going to kill me, though. You see what I mean? I've still got 9 something, so we're still okay. But if it stops us, it just stops us. That's all there is to it. Plus, we got our gold trade on, so we're doing okay on it. Let's see if that gets us on that oil trade. I'm just curious. Kissed it. Got us. You want to try it one more time? Predictor? I'll try it. Put a nice tight stop on it. Not quite that tight, though. Just a little bit above it. No reverse. There you go. Got your trade. All right, and our gold trade's working out too. Now notice that on the gold trade, this is very, very, very counter trend. Okay, now what I'd recommend doing instead would be this. See this lightning 3 right here? Just simply box it in and see if you can break that lightning 3 and then put a really tight stop on it. Let's see if it does, just for the fun of it. Okay, we're short. We've got a nice tight stop. We're going to bring our stop down tighter even, right there on that little swing. Now I'm going to put it on the swing. And we could ride a runner. So you can just move that anytime you want out of the way if you want to ride a runner. Okay? Now that's how you would do that particular trade right there. Now, remember in the room this morning, we actually had a line drawn here and we even talked about boxing it in, remember? And if I remember right, trying to think exactly when Charles got in that one. We don't record the room, so I'm not sure exactly when he did. But I know later on that they did do a phantom, and he went ahead and took a long above mid-band. That's a scalp type trade. But keep in mind that just because you go long on a trade, or like for instance, I'm going short on this one, that doesn't mean it's going to continue going your direction. You can't get into hope trades, okay? Because hope trades can really, end up kind of hurting you. Anybody see that trying to break that swing right there? Could you box this in very possibly for a quick long for 10 ticks if it broke it? We'll leave it on touch even to see if it does. Put your stop nice and tight just under the swing. Remember that trade this morning that I called? See, that's the thing. This is the thing about scalping, is that, we don't really care if it goes up to the moon. We just simply scalped in and scalped out. Okay? Now, could we have stayed in this for like a runner? Well, first off, you got to look for a phantom trade, which I would probably take also. Matter of fact, remember this number that we had in the room this morning, 31 area? Anybody remember that? We called a short there. Yeah, you can never go broke taking profit. That's exactly right. Because how many trades have you actually been in before that you all of a sudden look down and go, doggone it, I was up $400, now I'm up $250. It happens, doesn't it? And that's the thing, that's why Linda has a rule of thumb, and I've mentioned it in the room before, and it's just because, now keep in mind, this is not our income because, this is her money and everything. But what she does is if she gets above X dollars, like say $200, $250, $260, then she's in just her one contract left and she does not let it go back to 200. And then she'll look for one more trade, or we might just call it quits for the day. We did one day last week, just called it quits at 200. I even mentioned that. But if she gets like 350, then she doesn't let it go back to 3. If she gets 450, she doesn't let it go back to 4. And if you hit 5, you hit the button. And with trades and all, you'd be up. To give an example, she did 4 trades today, so that was $20 on her top step, and she hit 470. So she saw it hit 500 evidently, or 490, and then hit the button. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you hit that, you can absolutely be done for the day. Could you be ready though to take a trade? For instance, like we called this morning in the room and said, you know what? If this gets up here into this this area right up here, we're going to be looking for a little trade. And you might even go touch +3 just in case, because we were looking for it to hit a good solid lightning 3 swing. And, if you did that, and remember, these were called in the room. This is not, just because this worked, hey, this is great type stuff. These were called in the room. You get up there in that area and it'll give you a trade, 2 contracts. And where would you want to put your stop? Anybody on this gold? What do you think? Why don't you do outside the box, Louis? Well, this one I wanted it to get the top of the box. You could go ahead and bring your box up higher, yes. But it doesn't really matter because you actually, we're just looking for the short. And what I do is usually try to get mid-band on it. See, and that did turn out to be a good trade. But does anybody remember what I said in the room? Because I said it took out lightning 3. Watch your phantom. Be careful with it. Remember I said be careful with the phantom. This trade, by the way, you'd put your stop right there at 94.70. And remember on this one, we drew a line down here then and said, you know what, if this actually bounces off of this area right here, we're going to be changing trends. Does anybody remember that? Now, of course, you'd bring your stop nice and tight by now. Okay, don't reverse them. Be careful ever reversing. Okay. Because like I say, reverse can actually get you. That may stop us. Didn't get us. I'll go ahead and put it just above the swing, just in case. Because we got in at 31, didn't we? Yeah, that's fine. All right. Now, does everybody see? Let me show you a little trick to knowing when these markets are going to change trends. Because this is really important to know this. All right. This was actually a low, a high, a higher low, and it even took out this high to the left here. Okay, so remember we talked about boxing this in the room this morning, you know, to take this above 5308, 5309, and you did get a nice little long trade, but you also got a nice little short trade on Phantom. Okay, but can you see also though that you could actually get ready to take this trade if it just happened to come back up above this area right here, just above that mid band? Could you actually be ready for that trade? Sitting on a support level, what do you think? Anybody? There you go, you just got one. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that turned out to be a pretty monstrous, nice trade. But they usually give you opportunities to get in. You know, for instance, could you, if you're a gutsy trader, could you say, you know what, if they take out that swing right there, I'm going to add one. And yes, you can do that too, because Object Trader will do that type of thing for you. Now, I'd go ahead and put my stop just underneath that swing with close of the bar. It hadn't identified it yet, but we're also long on a background that's could be iffy, and now it looks like we're okay. Did you see how I knew that trend was changing, Louis? And remember, I called that in the room this morning ahead of time, because what you're looking for on trend changes, just like this, see where this did this nice high, low, and a higher high? That is your identified lightning 3 swing right there. If it breaks that, it ain't heading up. That's kind of a colloquial term. Well, I can't even say it. My dad could never say aluminum. He'd go aluminum. It was just anyway. But see how that busted it and kissed it? Now notice that they don't always do that though. Remember when Neil mentioned this morning, for instance, in the room, that he didn't get this trade that we talked about taking if it broke 52? Because I mentioned I'd like for it to break and retrace, but keep in mind they don't have to do that. You can box them anyway, and if they go your way, stick with it. But if they bust it barely and pop on you, just get out of it, because then you might go ahead and get a thrust and a retrace and actually be able to box it again. But you know, when you, and keep in mind too at the open that when they break a little harder, and we get these nice moves, because we got 50 ticks all the way down here to 90. Remember, I called it this morning. It was a beautiful trade. But isn't this a good little trade right here too that you could absolutely take, right? Now, what if you just missed that trade entirely and you said, well, you know what? I didn't get that. Well, could you still get it? Could you just take it and put your stop really tight just in case, like that? Yeah, if you're up that nicely, you could. I wouldn't do that on my first trade, but see how that's stair-stepping a little bit? Stair-stepping a little bit, and then look to the left to trade the right. You'd see they checked 31. Look to the left, they got 36 and 45. I'd probably try to go for 45, something like that. See, because this is actually a little more prominent swing than this one is. Okay, and you can do these trades literally all the time if you just teach yourself to do this. You know, could you draw a trend line on this chart? You know, let's say you weren't even in a trade and you said, you know what, I just got up and maybe I could do this little trend line right here. I don't know why that did that long out. So, oh, did I have this one on? Oh, I did region. Sorry, it's on region. Okay, Region got that one. Sorry about that. I was going to do a trend line. Let's do a trend line. Let's do a trend line. Now, I'd usually like this here anyway, because see, it's breaking resistance right there where my line's at. So I usually, in a case like that, will go like one and then go ahead and add one if it takes out that little trend line there. And by the way, you can tighten your trend line. See this little trend line here? It's too late now though, but see it right across there? You could actually have done your trend line more like this and you'd be in it. Let's see, could you show where that checked, Gary, where you just pointed? You're talking about, oh, it checked. We called this in the room this morning, remember, at 31, and it came up to 28 and hit it, and it rolled over. This was a phantom trade. We called the short on it, and then we also called the long on it when it, we didn't take it way down here, keep in mind. We took it when it took 8 out. See where 8 was resistance right there? Well, it broke it as support, but it came down beautifully and then came back up above it. Like, for instance, see, this is kissing 8. If you were just starting to trade for the day, could you see that that would probably bounce there? Because what it did, it broke it, now it's kissing it. Well, if it breaks it more than this, I'd get out of it pretty quick. See why I took that just then? It just kissed 08. Okay? Now I'd put a nice tight stop on it, just in case, like exit on close. Okay? Yeah, it checked 31 on, it may have even checked it. See, one thing keep in mind when you reload your data, you get a little bit more of the real time as far as the time things were done at the broker and things like that. So they can be a tad different than what you actually got when it was playing. It's kind of strange. It's been explained to me before. I don't really totally understand it, but anyway, it's one of those things that it just seems to work. Okay. Now, what does everybody think about this particular way of trading? And let me show you something on ES real quick. And I'm going to pause the screen for just a second and ask you a question. All right, this is what was happening in ES as we were looking at this market this morning. Okay. Now, you got a trend line right here, right? Okay. You got a box right here. It is breaking support, but it didn't break what we call lightning 3 at all. Lightning 3 is way down here. Okay. So this was that box that Charles did short. Okay. Remember this? This little trade right here. And I'm pretty sure he stayed in it right here because it didn't close above the box. And he's pretty good about, if it didn't close above his box, he wouldn't get out of it. So it did come down a little bit further, okay? But if you waited for the close of the bar and you got filled here, and by the way, I took this trade with him and I did not make money on it, all right? You got filled on this bar right here, so you got filled at like 29.96 and a quarter. Well, it only went down to 94.50, so that's, that's no kind of a trade whatsoever, right? About 7 ticks, right? Okay. And remember, I even mentioned that I did one contract. But what kind of a trade is this actually, anybody? What kind of trade is this when you go from a short to a long first-time phantom? Ratchets up above the previous swing. And that one even ratcheted up. That's a phantom. And I even called it live in the room and I said, be careful because my chart is showing a phantom. And, if you actually took the trade off the table when it came down to phantom and bounced and took it out at like 96 or so, you still basically broke even. But I went ahead and held it like he did, and it did hit mid-band. And I thought, hey, maybe he's right. Maybe it's going to go down. But phantoms, and keep in mind, this isn't disparaging on the trade call because I made a trade call. I make trade calls once a day at least that one doesn't work. So I'm not talking about anything like that. What I'm talking about is basically being careful when you see it's a clear phantom And here's what your little black chart would look like. Is that a downtrend? No. Yeah. Now, keep in mind that, some people like to go ahead and just say if it's below midband, you're pretty much looking for shorts. I'm not in that group simply because it's not. If you get into, a phantom area like this, wasn't that a much better trade phantom wise than this little inky short? Now, if you took this the way you should take it though, all right, let's say that you decided, you know what, this is pretty close to the open. Russell was breaking down like crazy. I'll just go ahead and take this trade. Well, for one thing, I would have probably taken it up here instead, boxing this in, and if it broke, you'd be in a little bit quicker, which it actually did. Okay, but anyway, let's say that you did take this and you say, okay, this is going, and don't like that too much. Back in the box, I'm out. You see what I mean? You could do it that way too. Because if you got filled here and that's 4 ticks in your face or 5, that's a full $60 per contract. That's more like 100 per contract. So if you had, remember I said I only did one contract, but it bipped me for a $100 bill. And I thought, why in the heck did I do that? Because that's my trade. Okay. So anyway, get in the habit of this, everyone, and you're going to be amazed how much better you'll do. Because, for instance, could you take this trade for a long trade just like the opposite of it was that ES? Yes. But realize that if it doesn't go your way immediately and give you those 10 ticks, that it's not your trade. Okay? Because, yeah, there's no question about it, Mindy. I'm not a 100% trader by any means. Now, as far as getting, winning days all the time, we do that. But, to actually, get every single trade, I fall for the same things that anybody does. If you start over analyzing, like, well, Russell's breaking down big time right now. Probably ES will. Well, probably ES didn't. And, that's one thing we got to be real careful of. But let's see, can you demonstrate when you say ratchet up? Oh, sure. Louis, let me show you on that, on this ES chart. What I mean by ratchet up is, okay, see you had this phantom right here. Well, at the time you had this phantom, you knew your high was right here. This is your high before this hit here, right? So when we talk about ratcheting up, it means it has to take this out. So if this takes this out by more than just a few ticks, I consider that to be ratcheting up. And it did. Okay, it ratcheted up, so you're looking for another phantom. Well, you never got another phantom until right there. Okay, and see also if you look to the left to trade the right, what was ES doing at the time? It was checking support. That's all it was really doing. It was checking support, and it bounced. So, be really careful going, and I would even recommend doing a separate chart, because to me, you should be in the long trade when this hit this phantom. And yeah, you could have tried a short right here, but if it didn't work out, then get out of it. And what I'd recommend doing more than likely would be one contract to test the waters, and if it didn't go your way, get out, and then 2 contracts down here, because going against the market can be risky. Yeah, see, this ratcheted up again. Now, we don't have the data so far. Let's just fast forward it and see if it ratcheted up again. I'll tell you if it could be traded again. Let's let it go for a minute. Just let her rip. Now, keep in mind that you've also got to realize that, ES can actually, if it breaks like a certain support level or something like that, it could actually, head on down too. What I always look at a chart on is, for instance, right now we know for a fact that 94.50 is lightning 3 swing. So if they were to take this out, they would head down. Until they do, they're not. And I don't know what it did, but let's just fire it up at 500 times and see what it did. Yeah, I love this particular trade, by the way, everyone. I like it better when it goes in between line 2 and line 1, but I hate this trade right here when you're clearly heading up and you take a short. Because if a person would have drawn on their chart, you could clearly see that there was major support there. And off it went. And this is after we closed the room, by the way. Well, Louis, on your question, basically keep in mind, though, that look at this right here. Let's say that you said, you know what? This is a lightning 3 swing right here. All right. And this is a lightning 3 swing here. So what if you said, you know what? If it breaks that, I'm going to short this, and you're in it, and you don't let it go against you? See, that can be a 10-tick trade down to the phantom. See what I mean? So it depends on how it sets up. Where I don't like it personally is when it's doing this fatter box right here. When they do this little bitty one where they break support and they never make a big old fat box, to me, this is a fat box. That's how big that box is right there. But keep in mind also, though, that if you did happen to go short on it and it went back in the box, it was really no harm, no foul. I went ahead and held it because I said, okay, see where it did this right here, here, and here, it just barely closed above here, so that's when you wanted to get out for sure. Because, see, it was stair-stepping down, stair-stepping down. When did it start stair-stepping up? When it took out that swing right there. That's when it started stair-stepping back up. Now, it didn't mean you went long on it because you should have been long down here. What you'd have to do in this case would have to wait for a thrust and a pullback, or you go long and you just, don't let it go back down below the little swing. Okay? Anybody have any final questions on this? What we're going to do every single day is we're going to try our dead level best to call the best absolute trades that we can. There will be times where we'll make, a mistake, and I'll own up to it in a heartbeat. I'll promise you that. Because to give an example, let's see here. Remember when oil actually busted this 28 right here? And remember I said I was pretty much done with oil? That was a killer trade. Even above 28 here. But I would let you know if I took that. I promise you that. Because we called the trade way down here. But remember I said, that I was done. I was not going to take the trade. But we did have a line drawn right here, like so. And I did mention that that could be a very good long trade. Okay? All right. I hope this helped, a bunch of people, because, the one thing about trading, we've all got to be obviously, careful in our trading, because, there's a lot of money to be made, but there's a lot of money to be lost too. See, now is this actually, real quick, is this actually a short trade now? See how that just kissed 08? See how that just kissed 08? Could you actually very possibly take this trade long if it happened to take this out right here? See the swing, thrust, retrace, thrust. What if it took that out? You said, you know what? I think I may take that. If you do it with one. Just in case, if it closes above that swing like that. See what I mean? So what I'm saying on this is if you miss a trade, see, this was actually just a good support bounce. So, with a good trend line, you'd already be in this trade. Okay. Be careful of changes of background. Yeah, that's the thing. You got to be careful of changes of background just because they barely take out support. Because if you look at this had a thrust, a retrace, a thrust, and what they did is they just checked that swing and it was a higher low. And they do that all the time. Now, if you were to take this trade, though, what you could actually do, and I think I'm out of data, well, it may not be, you can also turn on another feature on here called Stealth. And if it does happen to be a real trend change, Stealth will turn green. Let's see if that gets that just for the fun of it. I'll fast forward it. We'll do 2 for 10. We'll put our stop nice and tight. Stop tighter. 10 ticks. There you go. All right. See how stealth kicked that in? Now, to me, that's a little later than I like. I would have really preferred it down here, because if you drew your lightning 3, you'll see that what they did, they had a thrust, retrace. That was not a higher high, so that low doesn't count. That's your low on the left. Okay. Now, over here, though, could you have actually still shorted this? Yes, because this actually broke lightning 3, and you could have gotten 10 ticks. Okay, or it even broke this little swing right here, and you could have gotten 10 ticks. Okay. All right. Let's see. Anybody have any final questions? We hit right on the money, 8 o'clock tonight. This is definitely, absolutely a good way to trade. If you just learn to see the trades and everything, you'll be amazed at how well you'll do. Now, what if you saw this happening in real time right here, and you said, you know what, this looks like a phantom to me, so I'm going to box it. All right, I'm going to box it, but it's going to have to do a 1, 2, 3 reversal. Touch +2. Or what if I said, you know what if it breaks up, and I'll take a shot at it just in case, but I won't let it go against me. Let's see which of those it did. Looks like maybe to the upside. It is to the upside. Nice tight stop. That's still 11 ticks. That's still a little too. There we go. We'll give it 10 to see if we can get 10 ticks. Bingo. Not quite. Nope, nope, nope. Maybe. Yep, got it. All right. Now, could you see that you could absolutely get into this trade again? Anybody see something that it's actually trying to do right now? Look at that swing. It kissed it once. So if this is going to head up, wouldn't this get a higher low? So if that bar closes up, could I go ahead and take a chance on it? Now, if it tags this, we'll still be okay, because I'll just simply do a bar close. Let's see if it works. We're waiting for a higher low or touch that line and a bar close, and we're in. Tight stop. See how it just kissed that support right there? That's the way you can actually scalp your way, you know, like we always talk about 10 ticks to Tahiti. Now, I don't care if this actually runs the way I just did it. I just did it with 2 contracts and got out quickly. But you could have left a runner on, it looks like to me. Let's see if we got any more data, and we'll wrap. Yeah, see? Now, look how you could have held on to this trade if you wanted to hold a runner. Just draw this, lightning 1, and it's right. What about this? What about this? If it breaks that, could I short it for a quick 10 ticks? Bingo. See there? It works. It works. All right, let's see. Louis, you asked the question because it broke 21. Or is that what you're asking? Anybody see what I just did just then? Though I used lightning to get into a trade. Now, keep in mind that if I took this trade, I'm not going to let it go against me, because I had a green background and everything. So was that a dangerous trade? Yeah. But for 10 ticks, was it? No. Because I just said, you know what? I'm not going to let it go against me. It broke. It stayed broke. And it got me 10 ticks. And you could actually see real quick if you could get back in this trade. You could draw you a trend line with what we see right now anyway. Your trend line's kind of right through there, isn't it? So far anyway. See if that'll work. See if it works. Touch my line and you're going. In. And looks like we're going to get 10 ticks again. Tighten my stop. Just under mid-band. And got it. Okay? That's how you could do scalping. Okay? And scalping definitely does work. And like I said, you don't have to, you know, since I get up at 6:30, I didn't trade these in the afternoon because I don't make this a full-time job. But if you did decide you wanted to do longer trading and everything, try this method and just try it in sim for a little bit and see if you can't, you know, beat the odds. Now, I'm not saying you could do this, and I'm not saying I would even do this simply because I don't look at a chart for 7 hours at a time. Okay? But we did look at it, and you could clearly see that it works. Okay, let's see. You're asking I went long because it broke 21. You're talking about down here, Louis, on that one? Yeah, basically because it broke this swing that was right across here on the left where I had that line drawn, and that's also a phantom trade. That's close enough to a phantom trade that I consider it a phantom trade. And it got 10 ticks, and then you got a true phantom trade right here that didn't work out. See here? And you got a red background after that. But always look to the left. And if lightning 3 isn't broken, see how that just barely kissed that lightning 3 right there? Got to always look to the left to trade the right. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great one, and we'll see you in the morning, and we'll do this again for real. All right, good night everyone.